Hey class, welcome to week 4. So this is a big week. You got your first test this week, so I'm going to try and keep things quick and simple here with the introduction. This week we're going to be focusing on sampling methods, which is just kind of a fancy term of who are you going to include in your research. Ideally, if we were doing a study, we'd want to include the entire population of who we're studying. So if I wanted to do research on firefighters in California, ideally, I would love to get information from every single firefighter in California. Obviously, that is not quite realistic at all. And you'd be surprised how difficult it can be to get a representative population, even when you have something super specific. So in order to combat that, scientists use sampling, which is essentially trying to find a group of people that successfully represents the whole population that you're trying to study. That's a little harder to do than it might seem. So in this lesson, you're going to learn about techniques for doing this. More importantly, from your perspective, you're going to be learning about how to see how other researchers did. This is an area where a lot of people are really hindered by resources, really hindered by time. So this is a really good place to start when you're starting to evaluate, how is the study doing? What's the quality of the study? How reliable is it? A lot of researchers will rely on convenience sampling. No doubt, if any of you guys were psychology majors in college, you were probably subjects in a study at some time because your professor was doing it. It's really common. And college students are grossly overrepresented in research. But it's very important, and there's some great videos on this lesson that kind of show you what can happen if you kind of screw this part of your study up and don't take the time and you end up unintentionally biasing your own study. So really, really great. This is also something I'd like you guys to kind of keep in mind for those of you who might be interested in historically marginalized populations. So if you are interested in doing counseling with minorities, ethnic minorities or sexual minorities, it's really interesting to kind of keep this in mind and look at your scientific literature and kind of think to yourself as you're reading it, is this representative of the population that I'm interested in? Up until very recently, there's been a real underrepresentation of women, of children, ethnic minorities, and up until the last couple of decades, absolutely LGBT population. So these are some really great questions to ask and kind of look into. Don't forget you have your test. If you have any questions at all about anything in the lesson or accessing your test, as always, please be sure to contact me on questions for the instructor or by email. Don't forget, just because it's a test week, you do still have your discussion. You're just going to be using your Hauser text, very similar to a previous discussion. There's 6 criteria for assessing sampling in a study. So this is going to give you some great kind of bricks as far as building an opinion of how sampling was done. So you're going to pick one of those and use it to evaluate an article that you've been given. Don't forget to do those. It's very easy to forget sometimes on test weeks, so make sure you give yourself an iPhone reminder or write it down or whatever it is you need to do. And good luck. I hope you guys do great on the first test, and I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Talk to you next week.